You want to learn how to hire a top team? We're going to be talking about that on this episode of Brokerpreneur Podcast. Let's get started. Running a brokerage is hard work. So whether you're focused on building your own sales pipeline, hiring the best agents, leveling up your team's production, or protecting the culture you've built, you're in the right place. Real estate brings the challenges, and we share the solution. Welcome to the show dedicated to broker entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I am Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here with the big guy, as usual, the Sasquatch of recruiting.
I got a killer Sasquatch shirt. I was at a bacon and barbecue festival.
Oh yeah,
and there was a setup that was and it was as delicious as it sounds, by the way.
Don't doubt it.
Yeah, and there was a setup, and one of the setups was a bourbon distillery had some stuff out there, and the shirt had a Sasquatch on it, yeah, and it was kind of walking with a bourbon bottle.
Oh yeah,
and it said Bourbon Legend.
Oh man, that's
I was like,
sick.
My gosh, that was made for me.
Yeah,
I was like, do you have that shirt in like extra large in 19 colors? Because I'll buy all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
Bourbon Legend.
Yeah, that's your new nickname.
and then he started, and then he was like, Bourbon Legend, like Urban Legend. I was like, stop. You don't have to explain Sasquatch yet. He talked to me, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so good. Well, this is Matt Vi, everybody. It's your first time being here. Matt, he's don't judge him yet, right? He's a real estate genius. Okay, Matt, talk to us about what we're talking about.
Man, how to hire a top team. We know going into there's going to be mix up. It's 2023. There's going to be some mix up in what's going on. There's some opportunities with some top teams. There's a couple mistakes that folks make that we hear a lot in through coaching and masterminds and stuff like that. When they're thinking about hiring that top team, we're going to kind of go over some of those so that our listeners don't make those mistakes.
Yep, I absolutely love it. It makes me think, guys, we got if you're just listening to this, you can't see it, but if you're watching it, right, we got our Brokerpreneur shirts on. It says broker plus hustle. Now I'm like, we should be like bourbon plus hustle. That'll be the next shirt,
right?
So, guys, wherever you listen to this, whether it be on your favorite podcast platform, or if you are watching us, hey, how's it going? Make sure you hit that follow and that subscribe button wherever you are. Go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com. Check it out. We've always got some free stuff there to guys help you guys with your brokerage. If you like that kind of stuff even more, check the links in the description below, and click on some of those. Yep. We got some guides, some mastermind meetings that we do, just so much different things to help you with your brokerage. So Matt,
yep, how
to hire a top team. It says know what you offer and how it impacts teams.
Yeah. So this is kind of a big one, right? So you hear us all the time say, don't regurgitate and throw up all the stuff that you do on the table when you're talking to somebody, right? You hear us say that all the time. So it's really important that you know that whenever you're talking to a team, especially a productive team, odds are they've got a lot of their own tools and systems already. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so if you sit down and you've got this vigor and this excitement and you're just like, man, my tools are going to revolutionize and this and that and the other, all that team leader is thinking, if they don't have those things in place, is, oh crap, man, I got to redo all of this. This person's asking me to give up what I know is working, that's made me a top team already, to give that up to adapt all this new stuff. Man, careful.
Yeah,
okay.
No thanks.
Right. And so we talk a lot about the difference between adaption and adoption. Okay. And with teams, you really have to understand that, and you have to make sure you have good conversations with them about that. Again, that's another podcast. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that right now. But the tools that you have, how will it impact those teams? Meaning, are there some tools that you just require? Are there some things at your brokerage that you're like, hey, when you come on board, you have to do it this way? Right? Yeah. If I'm having those conversations, I am exploring that first. Yeah. One of the first things you can ask a team should begin the conversation and get things on track the way it needs to go is, I want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. Tell me how you do business now. What is it that you use? How do you handle your transactions? What is your team structure? Tell me a little bit about your commission and compensation. Tell me a little bit about the tools you currently use, both that are offered by your brokerage and the tools that you pay for yourself. How do you use those? What percentage of those do you use? Have those conversations first.
Yeah.
Get them to open up and talk to you about that. That is going to be mission critical to make sure that you don't say the wrong thing when you're sitting down talking to those teams.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And so, I love this next one. I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to try and get it out and we'll say.
Right.
It says, don't just focus on the team leader, but on the team members as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Bless you.
Excuse me.
So there's okay. So mistake a lot of people. So first of all, let me say this: big warning sign. You're talking to a team leader, and they will not let you explain your tools to their team. Okay, That is a big warning sign. They're not taking you serious if that's the case. Okay, a great team leader is gonna have enough. I'm gonna use the word control, but just careful, right? That I don't mean overbearing control necessarily.
Yeah.
But they're going to have enough control over their team so that they could basically go to their team and say, hey, listen, I'm exploring some other options and I want to hear what the competition is doing. So I'm going to get that broker to talk to us a little bit about what it is that they offer.
Yeah.
Okay. You should absolutely, if you have a good enough rapport with them so that they know that you're going to be confidential in that conversation. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not saying the first conversation. You don't call the team leader and have a conversation with them and say, hey, bring your whole team over and sit down in our office and we're going to show you what it is that we do.
Like, I already got them here.
That's right. That's right. That's not what we're that's not what we're talking about. Once you've had some substantive conversations, you don't want the team leader explaining what it is that you do to their team.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, the specifics of it, you need to be having that conversation.
Yep.
If they're not letting you have that conversation, I promise you they're not serious about the transition.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that doesn't mean immediately on the first meeting or anything like that. But if they're keeping you at a distance, there's a reason why they're keeping you at a distance. They're not committed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
And that is that's two people dating and them not letting you meet the kids ever.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what that boils down to. Right. And there's great reasons for it, but keep in mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely part of it. But then when you do talk to the team members, make sure that the conduit is the team leader. Right. So as you're having that conversation and you've got 3 or 4 team members there, maybe one day you meet with the buyer's agents, the next day you meet with the administrative staff, and the day after that you meet with the listing coordinators or whatever it is, or maybe you meet with everybody, whatever. So now you're having conversations that are very directed towards a specific phase and stage of what they're doing in the business. Do not talk to the team leader like they're no longer, or include them in the situation like they're no longer the team leader.
Okay.
Do not speak to the team member like, hey, this is what you're going to do. What you're going to do instead is you're going to say, here's what we offer, here's how we do it. Your team leader and I are going to discuss how that will impact what you do. And the team leader is ultimately going to make the decision of how we handle these certain parts of what goes on in the business. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about compliance. I'm not talking about the required things. I'm talking about how they conduct their business day to day. They are a 1099 employee after all. They're an independent contractor.
Yep.
So you have to make sure that whenever you talk to the team, that you're talking to the team about how they're supported, but the decisions being made on how that is implemented, how that is, how the company is going to make sure that it gets integrated into their business, that goes to the team leader. Okay. Yeah. Everybody has to know that the entire time. A big problem for you would be you have a conversation with a team leader, team members start talking, and you start talking about the benefits they're going to have, and you didn't run it the right way through the team leader as the conduit. The next thing you know, you're fielding phone calls from the team members, over the next 2 or 3 or 4 days, and the team leader doesn't know you're having those conversations.
Yeah.
That's undermining what they're doing.
Oh,
you have to make sure that you keep those things in alignment. So you got to make sure that you're talking to the team members as well, but that the team leader is the conduit for that change.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what? It's a different podcast. Maybe I was going to say. Well, what if you're trying? You don't want the team leader. You just want one of these agents that's on their team.
Yeah, different podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Different podcast. I just want to make
sure.
Yeah.
There is an ethical way of handling that.
Yeah.
And let me just give you the recap. Right. In my opinion,
yeah.
you would reach out to the team leader and you would tell them. You would say, hey, listen, I've had a conversation with so-and-so. I just wanted to let you know exactly where they're at with this situation. They're contacting me directly. They're taking a serious look at this. That was not my intent that was not my intent with them, and I will not hire them without you being comfortable with that if that's the case.
Yeah.
And when that team member first reach out to me and said, hey, look, I don't know if Betty Sue's going to move, but I would really like to move. At that point, I would tell that team member, hey, listen, if this conversation goes any farther, I'm going to need to speak to your team leader about this. And the reason why is because they're the ones that initiated this conversation. And ethically, I would not feel comfortable furthering that conversation with you without having a conversation with them first.
Even if it never started with the team leader?
That's completely different.
Okay.
That's why it's a different podcast.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So
That's
if you get a call out of the blue with a listing coordinator from a team that says, hey, I'm looking around, I'm whatever. Oh, man, all bets are off.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want the whole team. I just want the shortstop.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, now all you outfielders, you just stay there.
Right.
So, okay, that makes sense. All right, so a lot of brokers, owners, right, start their brokerages like as team leaders.
Right.
We see that all the time, and it's more and more common, obviously. Well, they can use that to their advantage.
Absolutely.
Whenever they're talking to team leaders, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to when you're sharing your experience as a team leader with other people, when you're sharing that experience, make sure that you go back and you filter out things that come across like the only way that they can succeed is if they join your company. Filter those things out. Okay. Yeah. What the tools and systems that they use, again, we're talking about productive teams here.
Yeah.
Tools and systems that they use, 100% there's things that you can offer them that can make things better, I would hope. Okay.
Absolutely.
But they're already winning.
Yeah.
Right? So the biggest thing that you can offer them at that, especially early on in the conversation, is your experience to give them some added perspective and let them know that you've been through, maybe not exactly, but some of what they've been through, right? So here's somebody that we helped, probably about a year ago. One of the things that they talked about was they had a team, but it was not an extremely productive team, and now they were running an office. And they were going after a couple of teams, and they were getting some traction, but the teams were exponentially more productive than they were, and so they kind of felt like maybe they wouldn't be able to help that. Maybe they wouldn't be able to help that team, and so a big part of our conversation, that we had with them through coaching was, it's not just about how much production you have, it's also about how efficient you were with some of the things that you did. And part of this the teams that were being approached being more productive is they had a lot more team members, and they were spending a lot of money on leads. Okay.
Right.
And this other team did not have as much production as they did. They had a very small team, but their per person productivity was exponential, and their profitability was rocking. Right. Because they weren't buying leads. Right. And I said, but we had to dig into that, right? We had to spend a little bit of time with that. And so, I said, hey, you deal with your sphere of influence a lot, right? This other team, you said that they're spending this much money and they're getting X amount of their business through your discovery with them, X amount of their business through paid lead centers, right?
Yeah.
How many people are they not getting through their sphere of influence because they're spending all this time chasing these web leads? Couldn't they hire someone to kind of manage their sphere of influence so they could push down the cost on their lead purchase while they're still getting more production, because now they're getting from a more sustainable source that's more likely to refer, which is their sphere of influence? And they were like, oh yeah. And I was like, you killed it at that.
Yeah.
How are you right? So now use your experience was the conversation. Use your experience, what you're good at, have real discovery calls with them, figure out really what it is that they need to accomplish. And then say, here's where I think I can help you. Here's where I helped myself. You're exponentially more productive than I am, but let's look at profitability. Let's look at per person productivity and see if I can impact those things the way that I did with my team. And let's see how much more productive and how much more profit we can actually get you. And they were able to do that with both of their teams. There's a very prevalent thing with very large teams. Whenever the team leader has to be the rainmaker, they buy a lot of leads. There's a lot of times that they buy a lot of leads. Not always, but a lot of times. And if you are somebody that can understand how to generate business through your sphere of influence, you should be able to pluck off some top teams just by being able to help them leverage whatever system you have to be able to get more business from their sphere of influence. they're going to spend less time and less money, which is very important in 2023. They're going to spend less time and less money and put more money in their pocket and be more productive and get more referrals, which all of that is just going to compound.
Hey, Dr. Ben here. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If sometimes you feel overloaded or alone when it comes to building your brokerage, I want you to know that we are here for you. There's so much support available to agents, but hardly any dedicated to brokers. I want to personally invite you to schedule a complimentary strategy call where Matt will help you build a 3-step profitability plan that will immediately produce results. This is not a sales pitch. There's no obligation. Simply click the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you can tell by, by team leaders, right? Like you definitely have agents out there who absolutely kill it. Man, they just stay like a solo agent forever, right? Or maybe they have, an admin or something that they add.
Right.
Team leaders seem to like to collaborate.
Yep.
Right. And so, they
good
like,
ones.
Yeah, exactly. And we find that, even the same thing with brokers and owners. Right, because there's similar mentalities, right, and that's where we started our masterminds. And I'm bringing that up because it might be a good idea for these brokers to offer masterminds as well.
100%. Yeah, if you're trying to get top talent into your office, you need to be offering masterminds.
Yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And as far as the structure with the masterminds and everything, just come into a BNSS, right, and we'll talk about it. BNSSS. I left off an S.
That's all right, man.
All right. So
I'll edit it in.
Yeah, there you go. So just come into one of those, and we'll talk about what the agenda would actually be of how to have a very productive mastermind, and also we can talk a little bit about how to get more people into that mastermind, because there's a couple of pretty easy things that you can do, but you just have to be consistent with it. Whole different conversation again. Sorry. But absolutely, you should be offering masterminds. Okay. So a lot of times, really productive people like brokers. I mean, think of brokers yourself. That's why we don't offer classes. We offer masterminds. Right?
Exactly.
And the reason why is because they want to be able to interact and ask questions and share their experience and share their knowledge, because they want to be able to build. Great team leaders, great brokers want to be able to build off of what they know. Yeah. Not just be told what they need to know next, right?
Exactly.
And so top teams, absolutely. That's you have to keep that in mind. You have to be running a mastermind for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So to lead that mastermind, right, you do have to know what you're talking about, right? And so you have to be competent in several different areas, even completely outside of the mastermind. You have to have like a competency in business itself.
Absolutely.
Because every team leader is an entrepreneur. I mean, every agent will say is an entrepreneur, but every team leader is an entrepreneur.
There's a whole different bag of tricks.
That's exactly right.
So you have to be good at business. Period.
Yes.
And as a broker, you have to make sure that you're learning and educating yourself on business. Something hit me like a ton of bricks. I was reading, I forget what I was reading, but the comment that it made was, a doctor, even a doctor has a doctor. Yeah. Right. A lawyer does not defend themselves. There's an old saying, right? A lawyer who has himself as a client is a fool, right, or something like that. Okay. That basically means, no matter how good you are at something, you still have the need to be better at what it is that you're already good at. Okay. Absolutely. That's where masterminds come in, especially when it comes to understanding the rest of the things about business. You and I don't know everything about business, man. We're so far from that. Right?
Yeah. Together we do. But
okay. I got you. So, but there's just so much that we do know. And part of my, I jokingly call it my larceny, right? I steal shit all the time from brilliant people, right? We both read constantly, right? Yep. You read, I listen, right? I listen to audiobooks.
To me talking.
There you go.
Yeah, I read and Matt listens to me.
Right, something like that. That's almost so close to what happens. So, from a big picture standpoint, we also have people on our podcast, right? We were on a great we were invited to be on a great podcast the other day, and we were able to contribute to the conversation and everything. But at the same time, I loved being on there because the guy we were talking to is just a super smart guy.
Absolutely.
And there was things that we pulled away from that. When it comes to hiring a top team, you have to know business well enough so that when they have a conversation with you, they're like, man, I can see how that would really help my business.
Yeah.
And if all you're saying is, I know this and I know that, and here's my stuff, and here's the things we offer, and here's my commission split, and here's this, and there's training, and there's that, and there's that, man, they're getting that same thing from everybody else.
Yeah.
You being able to sit down and say, I love how you're running your team. Part of what I do, I used to tell people this, and I thought it was effective. Maybe I was wrong, but it was absolutely true for me. I wasn't a real estate person in business. I was a business person in real estate, and so when I sat down with team leaders and everything, I would talk about, I love that you're already productive in that. I would like to pick apart some things that hopefully I would be able to make you be more efficient so that you're working on your business instead of working in your business as much. Is that something that is attractive to you?
Yeah.
Then I would talk about exit strategy, right? Then I would talk about, the other supporting opportunities for revenue. All of those things proved the conversation about a business person, right? And here's the fundamentals, right? We talk about this all the time. Leads, cost, revenue, expenses, training, culture, right?
Yeah.
Those are those four things that when it comes to business, ultimately, they directly align with what top business schools say. And what top business schools say is it's about sales, it's about marketing, it's about finance, and it's all about the operations or processes of a company. That's really what makes things tick. And when you start measuring and understanding those things, that's when your business grows. That's all you want to talk to them about. In my opinion, that's all you want to talk to them about.
Yeah.
Coming in and telling them, hey, your team is already, because we're talking about top teams, not just a team.
Absolutely.
You're already productive. I have some cool shit that's going to make you more productive. Man, everybody's saying that same thing.
You know it.
Instead, just say, you're already productive. You're already using tools. I'd love to help you look at the things that you're doing to see if there's any way we could operate at a higher level with them.
Yeah. And if they don't join your brokerage, be like, I'd tell you more about my tools, but you are a tool.
No. Okay. All right, Ben.
Yeah. Marshall, my oldest, I crack. I don't know if you guys, if this is the first time you've ever listened to the podcast, I tell jokes. That's what I bring to the show.
That's not all you bring, but that's certainly what you bring the most of.
Yeah, I definitely bring the most of that. But it's definitely weighted on my side than it is yours. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. So I was joking about something with Marshall, giving him a hard time. And, let's just say it was shoes or whatever, because, it wasn't, but it makes it easy. I was like, oh, nice shoes, like whatever. And he said, well, I'd say a joke about your shoes, but your shoes are a joke. and I was like, I'm going to steal that. I didn't come up with it. I don't know where that came from, but I'm going to steal that.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So numbers, right? It's the last thing we're going to talk about. We can't have an episode of the podcast where we talk about attracting teams without touching a little bit on numbers.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have some conversations with them about numbers, and please understand that I'm not just talking about cost, revenue, expenses, and commission split. That's not what I'm talking about. There's so much more to the numbers. And, I've given, I try to give as many real life examples as possible. I've hired people before that were very productive teams, and their retained commission dollar was trending down. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of reasons why, but it was trending down. I was able to pick up on that because I paid attention to that, especially later in my recruiting career. I understood how much more important that was than in the beginning, and how much important it was to identify that early and have a conversation about that. Some people get offended by it, just so you know. Some team leaders get offended by it, so you have to approach it the right way. But here's the bottom line: if you can help them immediately charge more commission, deliver higher value, but charge more commission, they're going to make more money, even if they have a different commission split.
Yeah.
So that comes from you knowing your numbers. That comes from you knowing their numbers. That comes from you understanding how your brokerage impacts their business, right? Do you have one lead source that's productive that they currently don't have right now that you can distribute to their team that's going to help them generate more opportunities? All that kind of stuff from a bottom line. You're smirking. What you got something funny? You got a joke about shoes or something? I can tell.
I really don't. I'm just like having a good time.
He's over here smirking. There's everybody that knows Ben knows that there's something evil behind that smirk. He's got something else planned.
Smirk.
So knowing, knowing your numbers well enough to be able to have a conversation with them about the things that are important in their business and how you're going to impact that because you took the time to learn their numbers shows them respect that you truly, appreciate the time that you're spending together because you did your homework.
Yep.
But also shows them that you understand business, which we talked about just a second ago, but that you're also going to be able to impact their profitability in a way that honestly, even if they thought about it, they haven't done anything about it because you see the gap and you're pointing it out. Right.
Yep.
So you got to approach it the right way and everything, but being able to do that is gonna help them understand. It's gonna help them offset the pain of what could possibly be their transition.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, guys, I don't know if you were able to see it or you invited some agents to it. Maybe who knows what your history is with it. But many moons ago, we did an event. It was all about teams. It was called Excite. We've done versions of Excite since then. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking. This one was many moons ago. So it was a few Excite events back, and we had two amazing team leaders on the event. Talking about basically their teams and agents who wanted to start a team. Basically, just the right way of doing it. We also had this booklet where we sent a survey to what it was like. I don't know how many team leaders.
It was 100 of them. Something like that.
It was a ton. It was a ton. We sent this survey, and then we compiled all that data into one booklet, and it's all full of like visual data. It's not like there's not a lot of reading to it. It's very, very visual, and I just want to make sure that as we're talking about this, that's a very important. It was a very important event, but it was very useful to brokers to say, "Ooh, this is something that gives me some good talking points when I'm talking to team leaders," and I'm going to make sure that I put that in the description below. So. If you're watching this where, the links are actually added, some podcast sites don't add the links, but if you're watching this or listening to it, you can always go to YouTube. But make sure that, the links in the description below, there's going to be, it's going to say Excite, Replay, and the booklet. Click on that and you'll be able to get all those things as well. So, Matt, anything else before I put a little bow on this?
No, we can. Again, this is a great topic. We'll dig a little bit more into some of the other questions that you said about teams, especially hiring team members and everything. We'll dig a little bit more into that. But this was more about top teams and what to do because right now this is really really relevant in the market.
Awesome, guys. Well, wherever you listen to this, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside it, you get notified every time we drop a new episode. Go check us out at brokerpreneurpodcast.com. See all the cool things that we have, no matter what phase or stage of the business that you're in. And then I kind of put, Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society, that section with the Excite Replay. So I'm going to talk about that for a second right now. We have Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society every Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It is absolutely free for any broker to attend. It is a casual and fun setting where we just get in there and we talk about, any questions that maybe someone has from a podcast that we've done or just something going on with their brokerage, or we just get in there and we kind of like laugh and joke about what's going on in everybody's markets and brokerages right now.
Sometimes there's one or two people in there, and sometimes there's 20 brokers in there. Right?
You
just never can tell. I don't know if we ever figure out why. We'll let everybody know.
we'll let you know. But either way, we have a great time, and there's a lot of learning and a lot of laughing going on. So make sure you register for that if you'd like. It is down below. Again, it's all in the links. It is absolutely free for you to attend. Matt.
Yes, Ben.
We do Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society and, offer these Excite replays and all, everything that we do for one reason and one reason alone. And tell them why that is.
Man, we just want to be part of your win.